IT governance. Let's dig into it. So, in this introduction to IT governance, I'm going to give you a little bit about the understanding of ISO 2070, 27001, and then I'm going to look at it and see what it can do for IT governance, um, and then we will look at the risk analysis and its role in IT governance. So, what is a good and effective tool here in IT governance is that we need to make reports and we need to make communications, and that's the main concepts of IT governance in relations to IT security. This is what this focus is about: ensuring that we make right reports and ensure to make a good communication, an effective communication. So set up the channels for doing that. That's an important aspect of IT security, and because then we can ensure that we have the right information to the stakeholders, and we about risk and how we mitigate those risk with different strategies. So, and this is always important in all parts of what we do, but especially here in security, because this is need to be taken care of, because the mitigation strategies are important, because there could be serious damage. So when we need to implement IT governance into the organization, we have to take some steps and to know where we're going to implement this right. So we need to get an overview, and we need to have a structured way of going into this, and that can be done in a lot of different procedures, in various procedures. And that what is really important here is that we don't, for example, if you were a CISO working in a company, you don't necessarily have the responsibility for everything. You need to define who has to take the right responsibilities, so that they are ensured that we have all the different aspects in this whole structure, that you can view down on like a tree. So we know organizational structures. So within that you have a structure for ensuring the communication and making the reports, for ensuring that we are keeping up to date with the IT security, preventing threats. So therefore, as a CISO, you need, and these steps involves a lot of different actions that has to be assigned a responsibility for who does this, and are assuring that this is being performed correctly. So, and this is as you can see, a very important topic within the IT governance is, and why we do why we have to communicate is because we have to communicate who has what to do and you need to know who is responsible for doing this, and who has these roles in the organization for assuring that we are staying on track with the IT security part. So, and we have all the different assets managers, for example. We have different kind of people in this organization that can be responsible. We also have the CEO. They could be responsible for something like for putting the view out and the structure overall view. And then you have CISO. You also yourself has responsibility. And then you have somebody working in the IT operations, and you have somebody working as the service desk. You have these managed. So the more you can, it also for you is nicer to know who has the responsibility, because then you also know how you have a better idea of what you're protecting and how to protect it. So, so we have these IT security managers, data protection officers. All these are also important. So especially for in your chain of responsibilities, and this is overall in terms of keeping employee safety and asset management. So, what of the effective rules you can do when you work with IT governance as a CISO, for example? You have this annual wheel where you evaluate your past, so the past year. So you just check are you keeping up to date, and you have to be concise about this, and then you will say, well, we go on. We have some modifications. We have to keep on track with this, and these you have to. This is an ongoing process, so you're always in this wheel and of process and keeping up to date and looking at different who do we have to have regular meetings with, what reports needs to adjustment, new ones needs to be made, and how are we going out and performing these actions? What are the necessary steps to implement what is required by law, or what is required by just general standards for doing actions with for doing interactions with out international environment. So there's a lot of things that needs to be taken up at this annual wheel. That's why you perhaps as a CISO need to remember these steps and be focused on that, and for ensuring that continuous improvement. So you always have a state, and you always know where you what your strength, like a SWOT, you know your strengths, your weaknesses, and you have these actions plans, and know how to you're always on top of your IT security. So when you need to implement these controls, we have the ISO 2000 and I think 27002 that is that helps us guide us into assuring that we have enough secure, or enough we implement the right, we do it right, so that we are having from an organizational perspective, and we are able to we first of all, you can get the audit from this, you can pay it, or you can get it, you can just do it by yourself, but that's in that ensures some sort of clarity within what, because these are standards that are good to be aware of, and they're good to have implemented, because these are well thought out. So that's an important aspect of being a CISO. That's you adhere to these standards, because then you can and then the market will also acknowledge you for that, because this is a good standard to be up to date with. So and also NIST standards. So as they are developed from the US. So these ISO and NIST, keep those in mind, because that's what really matters. When you go down to the core button, that's what really matters. The ISO 2071 and 2, the one is for the more organizational structure. That's how you view on the more like overall view, and then the 2 is going down and looking at different assets, the network. Well, how are you ensuring that, like guidelines for going in and being the most secure as possible with today's standards. So keep an eye on those, and perhaps read or get a good overview of what there are in the document that's sent out. So and these also perform relevant controls and objectives. So what do we strive for when we go in this area and try to adjust to the standard if we're not already there? But what is, and put out a plan for how to implement this in an organizational structure. And it goes quite specific in the 2002, so to the more low asset part. So when you go managing a security system, well, ISMS is that's a good place to go for policies, organizational structures, and risk assessment. So that's also and the SOA is a statement of applicability and compliance considerations. So look for these to ensure that you're also keeping on track with the implementation of your security management. What also is important that is risk assessment and management, and this is that you look, and this can be done in very detailed and also very light ways, but preferable in detailed way, because then you really that's an important part of doing this, is that you get a good overview. You see how many units do we have, digital units, for example, and then you start with that, and what size of our organization, and then you narrow it down, and then you become very specific in terms of assessing risk, and then you in this that can be done in an Excel sheet, a table view, where you then plot in the different risk assets, and then you and then you develop specific plans for managing those in order to fit your organization needs in these. So be aware of that, and then you can multiply the risk with the impact, and then you can risk with the So you get a product that's risk times impact. Get a product that will show you where on this scale do we need to improve, and where it's important that we keep an eye on. And also the ISM framework, that ensures that we do the right documentation, procedures, and continuous improvement. So also important to keep in mind here. And then you have a ground base to go to for ensuring that this is not just something that we do depending on when there are new standards released, but and new guidelines produced or law requirements, but we always keep a good healthy way of having to deal with security in this framework via a framework that can be good. And so what is also important about this governance is that we keep up with compliance, and we get the certification perhaps if we can pay them, or if they are relevant to pay for. So you can keep up with them and ensure them internally without paying, because they're publicly available. But you can also pay to get the standard certifications, and that can perhaps advance you in terms of endorsement from customers. So be aware of that. So for all of this edition on episode on IT governance, we have to keep up. We have to. So we have to, what do we have to remember from this educational video? Well, we need to know that the ISO standards are important. We need to implement a good work culture about security, so ISMS, and then we also need the annual wheel to be implemented, so that we ensure that we stay on top of our security work in the governance part, and most of all ensure the channels of communications and creating the reports so everybody can keep an eye on each other. So and then go look at the NIST and the ISO standards so you are up to date with the current industry standards. Good work.